in this tackle box are my top lures to catch fish in the month of October, and so if you want to catch more bass in your ponds and lakes this month, then this is the video for you. And I thought, how cool would it be if I could actually fish and show these lures in action as I'm teaching these techniques, and hopefully we'll catch a few fish along the way. I'm going to teach you guys all about weather patterns in October, understanding the forage species in your body of water, and of course, lure selection with one big secret tip that's going to be flowing all throughout this video. My name's Tyler, it's October, and let's talk about it. Another giant, another giant. Look at that, y'all. I can't believe what I just caught. Yes! Now, the first thing to understand about the month of October is that fall is finally here. Now, you may be looking at me and you're saying, Tyler, you're in shorts. It's not fall. And you'd be right in saying that, because here in Texas where I live, fall has definitely not fully arrived. We've had one, maybe two cold fronts, but here I'm taking advantage of the early topwater bite here in the morning, which at least down south, we still have. But leaving the south aside, you know, the rest of the country really has experienced a lot of what fall has to offer already. And so what lures should you throw? You know, when the cold fronts blow through, it not only brings cold weather, it brings wind, it can also muddy and disturb your bodies of water. And so when that happens, I know that can be confusing, because the lures that you used to throw in the summer that you were consistently catching fish on might not work as well anymore. And the bass themselves may not even be in the same exact locations as they were, because the water is changing. So lure category number one I want to talk about is small topwaters. Now, if I'm gonna put a lure at number one on my list, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's number one in order of importance. I think for the majority of fishermen out there, lure number two on the list is actually gonna be the most important for you guys, the biggest fish catcher. But it's early morning here in the south, at least topwater still applies, and I think it really has a place all over the country, not just in the south. But as cold fronts roll into your area, topwater is going to become less and less effective. Now, when is topwater no longer effective? I think November is a big month for most anglers. Even in the south, topwater's not super effective, and so the closer you get to that, especially up north, topwater probably should be put away until the springtime. But until then, why do I choose a small topwater lure? Well, I choose it for two main reasons. The first being that, man, bass are just more pressured than they ever have been in the month of October. I know we said the same thing in September, but especially when it comes to spring, summer, early fall fishing, these fish have seen a lot of stinking lures. And so if you can differentiate yourself, which sometimes that's going bigger, sometimes that's going flashier, and sometimes that's going smaller than everybody else around you, it can lead to more bites. But the second reason, oh gosh, there's one, holy cow, as I'm talking, let's go, baby. Let's go. As I was saying, the second reason why I believe small topwaters like this one right here get more bites in October is because they actually imitate the majority of the forage size in your body of water, because they're not big bait fish, they're small ones. Let me teach you about them. In almost every body of water in America, shad spawn in some way. So whether it's down south, we have a whole bunch of threadfin shad that are going all over each other up shallow. That's a shad spawn. Up north, sometimes the shad spawn deeper in grass and vegetation. But either way, the shad are always spawning because they have to keep their population going. That's just natural. And so by this time of the year, those bait fish that were spawned, that were teeny tiny in the late spring, early summer, summertime, are now this big. Whether I'm seeing it with my eyes here at ponds or on my fish finder, my live scope on my bass boat, I am seeing tons and tons of schools of bait fish everywhere that I fish. And so bass have a lot of stuff to look at and a lot of stuff to eat. Now, don't get me wrong, you can still catch fish on topwaters that are normal sized, even sometimes a bigger sized topwater. But for the majority of fishermen out there, I would recommend you guys, if you want to catch fish, if you want to just get bites at a tough time of the year, because October can be tough, I would recommend going smaller, because it imitates exactly what those fish are eating. Topwaters like this mock spray and shad, it is a very small, I mean like 2-inch maybe topwater. The lure that I just caught that fish on is the Strike King Bitsy Dog. It is a tiny topwater bait. Again, maybe only half an inch bigger, if that. Miniature buzzbaits can work, small plopper styles, the 70, the 90 size, all of those can be great topwaters. Now, I'm gonna say it again, you can catch fish on normal sized, but if you want the best chance at getting bites, I would say a normal sized topwater, maybe a frog or a full-size walking bait with 3 hooks, is gonna limit the amount of bites you get. You may catch bigger fish, but you're gonna get less of them. And especially in the fall time, I know a lot of you guys out there, the tug is the drug. It is for me too. And so if you are wanting to just catch fish, you don't care what the species are, if they're white bass, if they're stripers or hybrids or largemouth or spotted bass, you just want to catch fish, these smaller topwaters are the way to go. You're going to get more bites and have a whole lot more fun this fall. I'm not sure how I feel about Fire Tiger. I think a natural bait fish pattern would be performing better, but it's still getting bites. And as the dog is barking behind me, that bite reminded me of something about the fall, and that is that fish can never be too shallow. I made a cast that was, I'd say, 5 to 6 feet off of the bank, and I mean, the bank is like 2 inches deep, and I saw that fish that bit shoot out from the bank to my lure in deeper water. And so if you think you're throwing shallow enough in October, you're probably not. Now, in order to throw tiny topwater lures, you can do it on a regular bait casting rod, but I would highly recommend a spinning rod with like 10 to 15 pound braid. Again, topwaters benefit greatly from longer casting distance, and so the farther away from the bank or from the boat you can get. So I'm trying out the brand new Lew's custom shallow spool reel, and this thing can absolutely sling. It's a BFS style reel. I know that y'all who love BFS out there, the bait finesse system, would probably say it's not a real BFS reel, but you know what? It's close enough. It's got a super shallow spool that only holds maybe 20 yards of like 15-pound fluorocarbon. It is super light as well. Now it can absolutely launch a topwater. I almost hit the other side of this pond over there with a Bitsy dog. It's crazy. But if you don't want to shell out money for a whole new combo to throw light topwaters and light lures, you can just put different line on your medium powered spinning rod. Cool. There's one. There's one. Right as it hit the water. Right as it hit the stinking water. Nice one. Get in here, buddy. Get in here. Get in here. Yes, sir. Strike King Bitsy dog, tiny topwater walking bait to the face. And with that beautiful fish right there, proving that tiny topwaters catch fish and get bites in the month of October, I say we move on from topwater and go to lure category number 2, which I think is actually the number 1 in terms of importance category for the month of October, and that is, hold up, I just saw one bust. He's right here. Gosh, what a nice one. What a nice one. What a nice one. Get in here. Get in here. Yes, sir. He was chasing around bait fish, showed himself, and I got him. That right there is the power of the small topwater. I think any larger one might have spooked that fish, but because I saw exactly where he was, I could make a nice finessey cast to him, and he got it right next to the bank. Just a quick detour. Number 2 on my list for October lures, but number 1 in my heart, and should be yours as well, is small crankbaits. Now, much like topwaters, your crankbaits don't have to be teeny tiny, but I would still recommend it. You're gonna get way more bites from every species of fish on tiny crankbaits like the KVD 1.0 squarebill and the 1/4 ounce red eye shad. And I truly believe that even though I talked about this lure category second on my list, that it truly is the number 1 lure category for October because it really fits every angler out there. Even though it applies to lots of us still, topwater does not apply to all of us, but a crankbait does. Now, one of the main issues with a crankbait is that during the springtime, summer, and I would say early fall, a lot of the ponds that I fish and lakes that you guys fish have a lot of snot grass and dying off grasses, and so a treble hooked lure in the water column that dives and hits the bottom is not the best lure because you're gonna get your stuff all kinds of messy throughout the cast and really wreck a whole lot of your casts and not catch fish. But October, I've noticed a lot of that grass starts to completely die off, if not recedes down in the water column, and so you can throw a crankbait like a tiny 1.0 that, as long as it doesn't dive too deep into that grass, and if it does make a longer cast out there, you're gonna catch some fish. And one more reason why I may choose crankbaits over topwaters in October is because of the conditions, or the potential conditions. Oh, hey, I caught one. Oh, I lost one. Even though it may not seem like it from today's conditions that you see me fishing, it is almost dead calm today and bright sun. The month of October can bring some nasty weather, some wind, some rain, some cold weather. We're gonna get it here in a few days here in Texas. And with that, the water conditions change dramatically. Your water temperature is gonna plummet. Your water color with the wind and the cold fronts could just get all kinds of stirred up. And so because of those conditions or potential conditions, a small, tiny topwater sometimes can't even be thrown in wind or be noticed by the fish because the weather is just too bad. But just off the bank, the ecosystem is still relatively alive, and that is where the crankbait truly finds its place. Oh gosh, oh my, whoa, hello, my gracious, whoa, okay, jumper, all right, buddy, all right, my goodness, why are you so strong? Holy cow. Oh my goodness. Check out that fish. Let's get some better lighting here. I'm gonna tell you a few things about this awesome catch right here. First off, beautiful 3.5 pounder. Second, look how he ate that. Strike King 1.0 square bill, absolutely gone down the gullet. I mean, like, you cannot ask them to eat it any better than that. Gosh, gotta get pliers to even get it out. Hope that proves to you guys this thing right here is a little bass catcher. Thank you, my friend. See you later. And I'll tell you one more thing. I have been incredibly impressed so far with the Custom Light shallow spool reel. It can sling a small bait. I used to have to throw the 1.0 on like the most finessey bait casting gear I could, or a spinning rod, and even then I wouldn't get very far, but I can absolutely launch this tiny crankbait, which I believe will lead to more and more bites for you, whether it's tiny crankbaits, tiny topwaters, tiny spinnerbaits. If you like throwing tiny things, this reel is awesome. Well, folks, I think that's gonna do it for the teeny tiny lures category. Let's sit down and discuss lure number 3 for October, which is the suspending jerkbait. I don't care if it's ponds or lakes, I love a jerkbait, both a hard jerkbait and a soft plastic. Now, soft plastic is better around weedy situations. So if your pond still has lots of snot grass, lots of weeds, of course, still go with a Strike King caffeine shad. It's hard to go wrong any month of the year if you have open water with that bait. But the one thing the caffeine shad cannot do, or any soft plastic jerkbait, is it cannot suspend in the water column. And sometimes fish need a good long look at something before they decide to eat, and that's where the hard plastic jerkbait comes into play. You can throw a shallow diving jerkbait over 10 to 12 feet of water as long as it's clear, because the fish will see it above their heads and they will come up and eat it. When it comes to the retrieve on the hard plastic jerkbait, there really is no good answer. I can't tell you always do fast, always do slow, because at least for me down south when I'm filming this video, I know that a faster retrieve would probably be better than a slow retrieve, because I want to cover water and the fish are still in a reactionary, late summer, early fall feeding mood. But for you guys who live in Minnesota, in Michigan, in Pennsylvania, especially New York, and if you're watching from Canada, first off, glad you're here. And if you do live up there, your bodies of water are rapidly cooling down. The fish are not going to be as aggressive. The bait fish are dying off. And so a slower retrieve, a casting, jerk, 4 or 5 seconds of pause, jerk, jerk, 4 or 5 seconds of pause. I think fishing too fast is possible for you guys who live up north. But again, I could be wrong on your body of water. But I'm sure right now you're wondering, Tyler, in this tackle box, do you have anything that's not a moving lure? And the answer is yes. October is not always a purely moving month, even though that's the lures that I want to throw most of the time. If your bass are lethargic, the best lure that I found for the month of October is the shaky head. And you know what? I feel, as I've watched YouTube videos for years and years, that a shaky head really comes up when people talk about fall lures, but really it's a fantastic lure all year round. I just like it in the fall because it is a very compact package without having to peg your Texas rig. A Texas rig pegged on the bottom looks different as you're retrieving it than a shaky head does on the bottom. A shaky head has a totally different action, and I found, especially in October, November, and December down south, a shaky head over some rocks, over a hard spot on the bottom, can catch the snot out of some fish. And as always, I will have all of these links down below in the video description. If you guys are shopping for tackle, please click through the links. They are affiliate links and they will help my channel continue to grow. And you know what? To a certain extent, there's a list of lures that are mainstays, that if you have open water, they are always going to have the potential to catch fish. And those are basically any kind of soft plastic, but especially the Texas rig and the wacky rig, the OG reaction bait lure, the spinnerbait, and the confidence bait, I think, for everybody out there right now, which is the vibrating jig or the chatterbait. And if in your bodies of water you can continue throwing the same standard lures that you've thrown in the spring and the summer to catch fish, and you have confidence in those, you know where the fish position, you know how to catch fish on these lures, then by all means, forget about my list of any month and go with the lures you have confidence in. But I think I've traveled a lot, I've seen a lot of bodies of water, and I've noticed a ton of trends. And these lures that I talked about, I think would give you the best chance at catching fish quickly and efficiently in the month of October. Now, one of the lures I talked about in this video is the shaky head, and if you want to know everything you have to know about it in much more detail than I went into in this video, I will leave that video up here in the corner for you guys to click on, and a hard plastic jerkbait masterclass up here in this corner. My name's Tyler. It's been a pleasure as always, and we'll see you guys next time right here on TRF.